Hello friends and wonderful people, I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season, and today I would like to talk to you about my favourite cooking and baking experiments of 2020. So I'm not a cook, I don't enjoy cooking, so most of this I would have said at the beginning of the year would be baked goods, but in the middle of the year I sort of fell in love with cooking after watching a ridiculous amount of Come Dine With Me, and I started inventing themed 3-course meals. Basically, I have a list of 7 meals or baked goods that I made throughout the year that meant something to me, or like I really enjoyed cooking, or I discovered something from another culture that I would like to share. Number 7 in this list is basically a lot of soup that I've made over the autumn season. I have discovered the wonderful art of the mixer, and I basically mix everything together in a variety of strange and wonderful ways. I've made this really good soup that you can add goose fat into, and it tastes wonderful. Number 6 on this list is making the holes cake. Now this was in February of 2020. It was on the day that I had my holes inspired day, and I made a peach and cream cake. That cake was pretty much inedible, but I loved making it. I loved making something that was inspired by the movie and the book and the world of holes. Number 5 on this list is making the Tres Leches Cake, which I made also in the summer. I found a recipe online. I saw someone do it on Come Dine With Me, which is it's not great, but I always made sure that I always followed recipes by people from those cultures. I will list all of the sources that I found down below if I can find them again. Yeah, that was one of my most successful things I've made this year. So I couldn't find the place where I found the Tres Leches cake, but I have found another food blogger who I believe is Mexican living in Ireland, and I will post that below. Number 4 on this list is a 3-course Korean dinner. Now this was partly for Koreadathon, which took place at that time in the summer, and one of the challenges was to recreate a Korean recipe, so I went for 3, and I made the best meal that I've made in that entire set of things that I experimented with. I love Korean food. For appetizer, I made Korean fried chicken. Then I made japchae, glass noodle dish. And then for dessert, I made Korean style pancakes filled with cinnamon and sugar. Now I followed my Korean kitchen, which was wonderful, and I've made it again multiple times. So that was exceptionally successful. Number 3 is when I made wieczerniki. I have a whole video about doing these. Basically, with COVID happening and everything, I've been a little bit nostalgic for Slovakian food. So I created a Slovakian dessert. It didn't go great, and it took a lot of effort. But it was also the first time that I made caramel, and that went really successfully the second time. I had a lot of fun doing this because I asked my parents for help, I asked my grandparents for help. It was very much a team effort, and it was a really good way of being close to them, even when I was not. Now number 2 is, this year was the first year that I've made Sodor Bread. So I started my own sourdough starter, and I've been feeding it since. This was since April of this year. It's still alive, I hope. I've made quite a lot of sourdough bread with it, but mostly in the springtime of this year. Then I mostly made different kinds of pastries. I also made beignets with it. And lastly, number one on this list is when I made a 3-course Slovakian dinner. And I made kapustnica, which is actually a soup that you would traditionally very much have around this time of year. It's very much made out of things that you can either dry or keep in jars over the winter so that they are sort of preserved. But it's delicious. It's such good soup. Then I made tahornya. It's basically these really tiny sort of almost dots of eggy pasta that you can have with chicken, you can have it with chicken liver, you can have it with a lot of different kinds of food, and it's wonderful. And my granny made it for us like once, and I got a weird nostalgic craving for it. And lastly, I made buchty, which I obviously had to make. Buchty are traditional stuff, yeasted cakes, like they can have a variety of things in them. They are sort of buns that are filled with cream cheese. They are filled with caramel, chocolate, anything you can think of. And they were traditionally in fairy tales given to people going on adventures. And I just loved that entire experience. So yeah, those are my top 7 recipes or food adventures that I've been on this year. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful, lovely rest of your day.